guys, welcome to the PvP guide video for Guild Wars 2. Today's video will be on the Revenant, the new specialization profession for Guild Wars 2 that came up with Hive of Thorns. Included in this video, we'll go over Herald, since that is part of the build for Revenant right now, which is the elite specialization used by Revenant. We'll be going over the general format, kind of a different format a little bit. We're trying to shorten the videos down a little bit and kind of make it so it's easier to digest and easier for you guys to understand. Also, at the end of the video, if you make it to the end, there will be some news about holiday things and finals in school that will impact videos overall and will also impact streams as well. So we'll go over that in the end. But before you do any of that, let's go over the Revenant. So the Revenant right now is super fun, super versatile, and amazing overall. It's just a great class to play. It has a lot of cool tricks and like little things that make it fun to play. In the specializations, we'll be running Devastation, Retribution, and Herald. Yes, Herald, the elite specialization for Revenant. To just kind of quicken things up, I'll talk generally about everything. So we're using Devastation, Retribution, Herald. For our weapons, we'll be using Staff, Sword, Shield, with Marauder Amulet. So that's kind of all the general things. Also, the two legends that we'll be using on Revenant are Glint and Shiro. So we'll talk a little bit about those in the future, but right now we'll focus on the specializations. So I'm not going to talk about the minor traits because you can always go look at those. They kind of just generalize the specialization line. So I'll kind of just say what it generally is, and we'll just stop there and go over the traits. So for Devastation, it's kind of like your general damagey specialization. It has a lot of life siphoning and such that increases damage as well. You have choices between like damage increase, life siphoning, and some other interesting little things. So we'll go over that. Our adept trait here is Vicious Lacerations. When you're wielding a sword at all in your main hand or your offhand, it'll stack up 5 times, and this increases your damage flat by 2%. So it stacks up to 5 times, 5 times 2, 10%. So basically, as long as you're auto attacking a bunch on someone you're hitting them, you'll have permanent 10% damage increase. There you go. The other traits we don't really need to bring because they're not that great. Ferocious Strikes is if we were a dual wielding weapon. The only weapon we can dual wield right now is the swords, and the offhand sword isn't really that great. Yeah, it has a block, and yeah, it has this fancy little teleport thing, but Shield is amazing right now. So we'll just be running not Ferocious Strikes, and Malicious Reprisal would be a great trait if it wasn't on a 30-second cooldown. It just isn't worth the take over Vicious Lacerations at all. Our master trait we're bringing is Assassin's Presence. You might be asking, well, why are we taking Assassin's Presence when we could take Nefarious Momentum because we're using Shiro? Well, yes, that's true, but we're sticking mainly in Glint because Glint offers the most benefit over time. Shiro's more of like a reactionary deal, like if you want to catch up to someone or if you need to do high burst damage. You're not really sticking in Shiro as much as you would in Glint. But Assassin's Presence is great overall because it is just a flat ferocity increase to everyone, all of your allies and yourself, so that increases everyone's damage by a bunch. You could take Jade Echo, but it's kind of just like a trolly little thing you could bring if you really want to. I haven't seen many people use it to, or not use it to great effectiveness. It's not really, I haven't seen it be very effective at all or like stop people from doing certain things. I guess if you really wanted to kind of play around it, that'd be kind of a trait to do with that kind of situation. Say, okay, you've got this and you know that you're going to go down, and you know your teammates know that and they can like react to it that way. But it is on a 90-second cooldown, so that kind of bittersweet kind of deal, more bitter on that end than anything else. So in the Grandmaster line, we're taking Assassin's Annihilation. This trait is amazing. It increases your damage so much. It's mainly not for the healing. So basically, when you hit a foe from behind or from the side, you life siphon and it does damage and heals you. We're not bringing it for the healing mainly. You're bringing it for the damage. That's just like flat damage coming out from your auto attacks basically, and the sword auto attacks are insane. They attack so fast, and there's the base damage of them is so high, like it's insane. It's incredible. So that's a really good trait to bring. If you really wanted to bring something else, if you really want just flat damage increase, you could bring Swift Determination if you wanted to. Basically, it's the Revenant version of Thief's Executioner. So I mean, 20% damage increase when the target is below 50% health. yeah, it's okay. If you really wanted to bring that over this, it's up to you. Don't take Dismantle Fortifications. It's not really that worth it because we're not focusing on CCing people, and besides, staff can just tear through stability anyway. So Retribution, onto this trait, specialization. So Retribution is kind of a more defensive specialization. It has some interesting supporty kind of traits in it that can help teammates, can help yourself, mainly with the stability and the cool Grandmaster as well. So our adept trait is close quarters. Foes that strike at range, basically, their damage is reduced by 10%. Flat, which is useful. I mean, it's the best trait we can bring. The other traits, there are improved aggression and planar protection, which is the fall trait, which we don't need in PvP. But the other one, improved aggression. Now, the thing about this trait is you could take this trait if you were running the master trait Eye for an Eye. And I'll talk about Eye for an Eye for just a second. But if you're not taking Eye for an Eye, you really don't need improved aggression because you're not taunting anyone. So close quarters is the choice. For the master trait, we're bringing Dwarven Battle Training. It's a very good trait. It's really our best one in this line. Basically, you can apply weakness randomly, and weakness effectiveness on you is reduced by 50% flat. Like, that's insane. So you're not going to fumble as much, and your endurance regeneration is going to be higher than someone who has weakness. Or if you have weakness and someone else has weakness, you'll have an easier time with it on than they will. So it's a really useful trait to bring, especially since your auto attack, your main source of damage is basically auto attack. So that helps out a lot. Now, if you really wanted to take Eye for an Eye, so the way that Eye for an Eye works is kind of your general CC trait for the Revenant. So if someone disables you in some way, stun, daze, knockback, yada yada, you taunt them and you apply protection to yourself. It's a 3-second taunt, pretty strong, on a 45-second cooldown, so it's not too long. But this is the thing. If someone CCs you from range, the trait does not go off. Or no, it doesn't affect... Let me repeat myself. Rewind a bit. It does go off, but it doesn't affect the person who has just CC'd you at range. So it goes on cooldown, and it doesn't do anything. So the next time that someone does come to you in melee range and does CC you, will not get affected by Eye for an Eye. So that's the give and takes with Eye for an Eye. It's a really good trait if you're fighting in melee range and if you just happen to get CC'd in melee range, which does happen very often, but there's still the risk of getting CC'd from range and it just going off and not doing anything. You do get the protection, but there's other sources of protection you'll get from anyway, and you'll mainly be focusing on using your blocks and evades and dodges to avoid damage anyway, so you're not really looking for damage mitigation at all. So that's the thing for Eye for an Eye. If you really want to take it, that's okay, but I do suggest bringing Dwarven Battle Training over it. And the Grandmaster trait is Versed in Stone. Now, the old version of this trait, the one that spun the hammers around you, was way cooler. It was just cool. Like, it was way cooler, and it applied weakness. So I think that was the ticket with it, why I felt a little bit overpowered, because these hammers just come out of nowhere and apply weakness. But this is a good alternative, I guess. Basically, you have a chance when struck, 50% chance when being struck, to activate Rite of the Great Dwarf. And the Rite of the Great Dwarf is an elite skill on the Jalis, a legend, that reduces damage, basically, I think just physical damage. I'm not sure if the actual elite version reduces physical damage and condition damage, but this version of it does. It reduces condition damage and physical damage by 50%. So it's stun break. So if you get CC'd and just happen to be, it just so happens to proc, then you're break some stun, and it affects everyone else around you. So it's a kind of cool supportive thing for you and everyone else if it does happen. So it's not a bad thing to bring. The other one you could bring is Steadfast Rejuvenation. I don't recommend it. It's not as amazing as it sounds, but if you really don't like Versed in Stone, this is the pick you would bring. The other one, Empowering Vengeance, you don't get a lot of source of retaliation. I mean, the only thing that you could get is if you brought retaliatory evasion, which is when you dodge, you get retaliation. But it's leaving up to chance whether you get hit during retaliation or not. So up to you. You can kind of fiddle around with this, but this is the pick that I would pick if I were you. Now, on to the Herald. So the Herald is a boon it's a boon thing. I don't know. I'm not really sure what Herald is. It does a lot of things overall, including increasing our endurance regeneration when we have upkeep skills. So, I mean, it's a pretty overall great specialization. I mean, it just gives Revenant a lot of stuff. So let's go over the traits. The Adept trait is Radiant Revival. I bring this trait because it's super good. I mean, it is really good. It's on a 45-second cooldown, yes. But putting Infused Light, and if you don't know what Infused Light is actually your flip heal for your Glint. The Glint heals flip skill. So basically you activate it and all damage, Condi and physical damage, get turned into healing. This trait places that ability onto someone you're reviving. So basically you can insta revive someone in a fight. It's great. You could bring Hardening Persistence instead. You gain toughness for each point of upkeep you were using. So if you have an upkeep skill that uses 2 ticks of energy, it gives you 40 to 80 toughness. It's okay. You could also bring, I mean, between these 3 traits, they're pretty decent. Like, you know, Swift Gale gives you super speed when you successfully break stun. And Shiro has like the shortest cooldown break stun in the game. So that's also okay if you want to bring that. But reviving people is really useful, especially since like damage is so high and there's just a lot of AoE stuff going around. Reviving someone in team fight is super strong. So I would suggest that one. The master trait would be Shared Empowerment. Basically, when you apply a boon to an ally, you also apply might to everyone. So everyone's gaining tons of might. It's basically a support trait that not only applies to you, but applies to everyone else. So you're just like exuberant, like, what is it? Like, the word. You're just like, might is falling off you, basically. It's just, you are breathing living might. You just give might to everything. So that's a really strong trait. The other ones aren't that great. Harmonize Continuity, just another one of those weird stun break traits that stun breaks everyone else when you stun break. And then there's Bolstering Fortifications, which when you use a heal skill, you gain protection for 2.25 seconds. It gives it to everyone else. Kind of odd. But I guess it kind of synergizes with the shield, because the shield 4 skill does apply protection in an area. But I don't know. This one's way, 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 way better. Just overall better. And for the Grandmaster, we're bringing Soothing Bastion. Now, some things that some people don't know about Soothing Bastion, if you don't pay attention or pay close attention to your traits. So it's a kind of, you drop down to percentage of health, 25% below that health threshold, and you activate Crystal Hibernation, which is a shield skill, but also is in your traits. You block incoming attacks. You kind of go into this little like Crystal Cocoon, block attacks, and regenerate health over 3 seconds. It pulses 4 times. About 1,000 health per pulse. The other great thing about this skill, this trait, is that it, when you use a shield skill, it increases boon duration for boons already on opponents or on allies and on yourself. However, it increases it by 2 seconds. But however, I don't think it properly works right now, because I haven't noticed. Because if you looked at like the Tempest Warhorn Earth 4 skill, and it's supposed to increase boon duration by 2 seconds, you can actually see it happen. When I use a shield skill, I haven't really seen it happen. It might be bugged or glitchy, but still it's a great skill to bring. Gives you kind of like an oh-shit button that you can't really control, but it's still pretty cool. The other one, Enhanced Bulwark, is not that great. I mean, yeah, when you dodge, if you're bringing Retribution, you're gonna get stability when you dodge. You could get 2 stacks of stability if you wanted to. If you wanted to fool around with that, that's fine. And Elder's Force is just damage increase, mainly a PvE trait, I would say. But if you're going for the best one, I would say Soothing Bastion is the best out of the 3. So, and there we go. That's all the specializations and all their traits. So yeah, kind of a good mixture of offense and defense here with these specializations. So onto the weapon stuff and the amulets and things. Amulet, I'm using Marauder Amulet. I would suggest using Rune of Strength for this build, because you are just snacking might all over the place. You want to keep it on you as long as possible. And also the 5% damage increase while under effects of might is also very useful. As far as sigils go, I'm using Energy Generosity on my staff and Energy Air on my sword shield. Mainly because you could put Air Fire on the sword shield, but I've just become so addicted to energy overall. I mean, I know there's tons of evasion and shit on the Revenant right now, but I would just take energy myself, because I mean, what else could you really bring besides energy that it's for damage? Yeah, you could bring fire, true, and you could do that. I'm not saying you can't. Definitely try fire out, but I'm just comfortable with air energy right now. And generosity I bring because the Revenant is lacking in the Condi removal area, even with staff on, so that's why I bring that. A little things on the legends. So if you don't know what the legends do, I'll do a quick explanation of Glint, especially because there's some complexities to her like utility skills. So if you don't know what the Revenant is, or kind of how it works, when you choose a legend, the legend that you choose is what your utility skills will be. So if you use Glint, she has utility skills that will be those utility skills. There's no switching at utility skills. The only way you can change them is if you change to a different legend. Right now I'm using Shield and Glint. So these are Glint's skills. We have Facet of Light, Facet of Darkness, Facet of Strength, and Facet of Elements, and Facet of Chaos. Each of these are flip skills, so you can activate them to upkeep them. Upkeep meaning that you will have energy degradation, or degeneration, energy degeneration by a certain amount. So like the Facet of Light here has a -1 upkeep. So you have -1 less the amount of energy regeneration while you're in combat. That's how those upkeeps work. Facet of Darkness, and they all like pump out different boons. So there's regeneration, fury, might, swiftness, and protection. Each of them having their different upkeeps. And then after you've activated them once, they have a flip skill, and you can activate it again for a specific effect, and it puts it on cooldown. So, for example, Facet of Elements, you activate it once, pumps out Swiftness. You can activate it again. It's like an area of effect thing you can place down, and it pulses Burning, Chilled, and Weakness, and does some damage. That's cool. Same thing with all the other ones, like Facet of Light. I talked about Infused Light. Here's the Infused Light I was talking about. Consume fast, and all healing, all damage is turned into healing, such and such. As far as Shiro goes, you have different like teleports. This is really what makes Revenant awesome and kind of take over the thief position, as I was talking about, mainly because of these two skills. But first we'll talk about the heal, and in tips and tricks I'll talk more about the heal. The heal's like these little daggers that pop out and they siphon health, more siphon healing and stuff like that from Shiro, right? But the two skills that are mainly important are Riposting Shadows and Phase Traversal. Riposting Shadows is just an amazing skill, one because it removes all sorts of like soft CC on you. It's a break stun on like a 0 cooldown, and also it's an evade, and also it regens you like half of your endurance bar when you use it. So it's a super strong, like you just dodge, Riposting Shadows, dodge, Riposting Shadows, dodge. Or if you change, like and that's why energy is really cool, because you can get even more, because energy refills 50%, so you can just get more dodging. So basically, this is a better version of Acrobatics Thief. And then the next thing is Phase Traversal. It's a 1200 range teleport that makes your attacks, 2 of your attacks, unblockable. So you can do some really cool things with that, getting some attacks off that you really need to, and like with an energies pulling up like Gear Shield or whatever. And then there's Impossible Odds, which is basically if you want to like just pound someone into the ground, it gives you quickness and super speed. There you go. And then the Elite is a big stun thing. So it's cool stuff on Shiro. We'll talk more about how to combine some of those skills to make some really cool combos and stuff like that. And a quick thing about the weapons. So on the staff, your number 3 is a block. It's a straight up block. It doesn't matter what direction you're facing. It's a straight up block that blocks everything on a 10-second cooldown and applies blind to foes in an area. Remember that, because it's a really clutch skill. And then number 5 is a knockdown. It also does a lot of damage. It hits 8 times, so that's 8 knockdowns in the span of like a second and a half. So make sure if you can get the Surge of the Mist off, really cool idea. And on the sword, be careful when using your Unrelenting Assault. Mainly use it for, I guess this is the tips and tricks portion, mainly use it for evading abilities if you can really time it right. Also, you can use it for bursting. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's also a good evasion tool as well. So don't forget that this evades, and the Surge of the Mist, the 5 on the staff, also is an evade. Anything that kind of turns you, there's a motorcycle outside, anything that turns you into like mist is an evade, basically. The only thing that kind of doesn't do that is, I think, Axe 4, which kind of makes you misty, but it isn't really an evade. I kind of wish it was, because then I give Axe something. But I guess you could have like double evade on Sword Axe. That'd be kind of cool. But anyway, those are the things about the weapons. Don't forget that key thing. Also, don't forget, because we're using Herald, we get this, the Facet of Nature. Important thing to remember is if you have it on, it's a -2 upkeep. Basically, all boons applied while this is on upkeep have an increased duration of 50%. So 50% boon duration increase on outgoing boons. So really useful for a nice startup. This will allow us to go right into the tips and tricks portion of the video. So quick things. Firstly, so just some tips, and then we'll talk about tricks in a second. So tips, when you start out in the match, and the counting down, if you're in Glint, start in Glint. Start in Glint always, because then you can put boons out onto your allies before a fight. So you'll want to activate, this is what I do. You can do it in a different order, but always activate Fastest Strength before you go into the fight, just to stack might. I also activate Facet of Elements to give everyone swiftness. You can activate Facet of Darkness instead if you want to. The only problem is if you activate Facet of Darkness, you can't really activate Facet of Nature, because then you're on negative upkeep. So you'll have energy degeneration. So you'll go from 50 down. So I activate Facet of Strength and Facet of Elements, and then I'll activate Facet of Nature before the match even starts. That way you're building might at the maximum duration you give it before the fight. Some people argue with me on that, and you can try different combinations, but that's a combination I use because I want the maximum amount of might before going into the fight. And I want to keep my energy at that midpoint before going in, because energy generation or energy regeneration is really difficult sometimes, especially when you're just pumping out skills all the time. Really fun thing to do. It isn't always like necessary, but it's really fun to do. When you go into a fight, just use Facet of Chaos. Double tap it, get that dragon out. When you double tap it and you consume the facet, Glint comes out of it. She comes out and she just like flaps her wings and like knocks everyone away and gives everyone super speed. Really cool ability. Don't ever hold it on upkeep, because it is a -5 upkeep, so you'll have 0 energy regeneration. It's really just a use it skill, like use it right now skill. If you need to knock people away with it, good knockdown. Revenant has a lot of cool knockdowns and stuff like that you can use when you need to. Another thing is if you are rezzing someone and you're being cleaved, use your infused light. It'll make sure that you survive, and because you have the trait revival, you'll both survive the cleave damage, at least hopefully. I mean, this one only lasts for 2 seconds, and your heal lasts for the infused light on you lasts for 3 seconds. So make sure to use it as soon as you start rezzing someone if you're in heavy cleave damage. That way you both survive the cleave damage and get the guy up. Also, while you're fighting, don't hold Facet of Nature. It's not worth it. Always just double tap it while during a fight. That's what I do. I found it's more useful than holding on to, because you tend to forget. The one thing you have to watch out for is making sure you don't hold onto your upkeeps for too long. The one upkeep you might want to always have on is the Facet of Strength and maybe Facet of Darkness. You can keep Facet of Darkness on because you do get that Fury, but you can always double tap it for the break stun if you really need to. Facet of Strength also is stacking might, so if you do use Unrelenting Assault on stuff and things, you'll gain more might. So just remember that. Just keep an eye out on your upkeeps and make sure you're not using them to like holding on to them for too long. Don't be afraid to use, and like I said, don't be afraid to use your Surge of the Mist on the staff to avoid damage. It doesn't have to hit things to be effective. It's an effective evade for getting around and getting away from enemies. The one thing, and this is kind of a trick, really fun trick I do. If you're in Shiro and you're far away from someone, and you see like your ally is about to get stomped, and you're far away, you swap into Shiro, you phase traversal up to their faces, and then immediately hit Surge of the Mist. Why is that effective? Obviously, well, you know what's going to happen. They're just going to get like shot forward because you're just going right through them. The main thing is that phase reversal tends to put you right behind your opponent. Never puts you in front of them. Even if you're in a short range, it'll always put you behind them, never through them. So always puts you behind them so you can get that Surge of the Mist off right away. It's a fun trick to do. I've saved a lot of my friends who PvP with me many a time, and so has my other friend has done the same to me when he's playing Revenant many times by using that combo, all sorts of other things. Don't be afraid to use your stuns. Jade Winds is a really strong stun because it's an AoE stun for 3 seconds. It does some damage. So don't be afraid to use it in a team fight to kind of turn tides or to stop people from rezzing or stop people from stomping. Also really good. Now, a really cool trick to get a nice burst off. And I mean, obviously, the main source of damage you're going to get is from auto-attacking with the sword. It just does insane damage. It's your highest DPS. It's probably the highest DPS weapon in the game right now because it does so much damage. And it's a really, like, multi-hit attack chain because you got the stab, you got the slash, and then it also creates a rift that explodes and does damage, and you attack again, so it's, like, constant damage. But if you want to get a sure way to get, to do a really nice burst, and also heal yourself, is to go into a fight, or for 1v1 mainly. Or you can also do it in a team fight. Your Unrelenting Assault is a good team fight thing because it can allow you to heal up, and it can also allow you to evade a lot of incoming damage. To activate Enchanted Daggers before you an Unrelenting Assault, and then Unrelenting Assault. Not only will you heal, but it does a ton more damage because you're also doing the Siphon damage as well, and the Siphon damage is huge. Like, you'll just chunk someone down. It's pretty cool, a nice way to do burst and a nice way to heal. But not only that, and there's something about Unrelenting Assault that many people think, oh, well, they can just dodge them. Well, yeah, but Unrelenting Assault takes at least 2 dodges to get all of the, to negate all the damage. If they only dodge once, you're at least getting half of the damage down. If they double dodge, then that's all of their endurance gone. So you've pulled out 2 dodges away from them. So it's a good way to get dodges away because you're not afraid of people dodging your stuff because your stuff's everything on the Revenant has short cooldowns. So you're not really afraid of people dodging your shit. Just pull out those dodges, get that burst down, and auto attack. Another tip, actually this is a tip, this is an important tip because this is a mistake I make all the time. Because we're running Soothing Bastion, the Grandmaster Trait and Herald, you can often, when rezzing someone while you're really low, stop rezzing them abruptly. Because when you go below 25% health while you're rezzing someone, you'll just automatically go into Crystal Hibernation, and it's on a short cooldown. The trait is on a really short cooldown, so you'll just kind of troll your friend a little bit by just like starting to res them and stop because you've accidentally Crystal Hibernated and stop rezzing them. So be careful about that. Be aware of how healthy you are when you go to res someone. And don't be afraid to use your actual Crystal Hibernation to avoid damage. It's a really good, it's a block. It's a block and a regen, so if you need to regen health, don't be afraid to use it. And always throw out that 4. It's a nice, good heal for everyone and for yourself, and gives you some protection and might. Now, the last thing, this is and this is more for advanced players. It's not something I can properly demonstrate. I know I've had some clips in the background going to show you some of the tricks and stuff, but I have a background. But it's really hard to demonstrate because it's not something you can actually see unless you're experienced, you know what's happening. It's skill canceling, and if you've played a lot of games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know a lot about PvP and high level PvP, and especially in fighting games, skill canceling is a huge thing, and you can do this in Guild Wars too. That's what Thief is a really big thing. Thief players usually skill cancel. I know a lot of advanced players skill cancel other things. I skill cancel as well. It's just to speed up your animations a lot. And you can do this on Revenant. It's with one skill, and it may not sound like a big deal, but it can have a big impact on your DPS and on your ability to get skills off really quickly onto your opponent, so they kind cut off guard or they can't react very quickly. So when you use Unrelenting Assault, so if you say you want to do some damage, you want to make sure draw out some dodges or whatever, usually use Unrelenting Assault to do this. And you go into this chain of attacks that you can't stop really, you can't cancel it. And then what do players usually do right afterwards? They use Precision Strike, which is a little like blade thing that you can shoot out that chills for 2 seconds. Now the chill is amazing. You have a lot of chill. For some reason, there's like a ton of chill on Revenant through Glint and through Shiro. So you can stack it pretty effectively. So that's what players usually do. But there's a way to get it off even faster. It might not seem like a lot, but it is really cool and really fun to try. You kind of feel really like, oh, I'm a really awesome player when you do it. So basically, when you use Unrelenting Assault or any sort of like channeled, you can do stunning and channeled skills. You can use it after auto attacks, but it's mainly used after Unrelenting Assault because you're kind of stuck to your opponent. After it's completed, the entire attacks, all of the attacks are done. You stow your weapon. So usually, stow weapon is a command in the keybinds that isn't usually bound to anything when you start the game. I have it bound to my Z key, but it says I can reach it there because like I have all my keys right near my left hand. But you can stow weapon, and then immediately after you've stowed weapon, like as soon as you can, hit 2, and then you'll get it off. It may not seem like it's faster, but it is. I guarantee you, it is faster. It might not seem like a big deal, but sometimes it can be. And it's a really good habit to get into to learn how to skill cancel because it also applies to other classes in the game. So there we go. That's everything about the Revenant. I made this video way too long, and I'm sorry. I apologized about that, but hopefully I gave you enough information about the Revenant. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, please put them down in the comments, or hit me up on Twitter, or send me a message in game. Tell me, oh, that doesn't sound right, or this I have a question about this thing, or why do you do that, or this or that. Hopefully, I've given you I've given you enough information so you kind of can get into Revenant. It's a really fun class. I really enjoy it. I love the Revenant. It's probably one of my favorite classes right now. I really only play Revenant, Dragon Hunter, and what else? What else I play? Druid. I fall in love with the 3 classes. I've stuck with Dragon Hunter because Guardian is like my absolute favorite class in the game. Revenant and Druid. Druid's a lot of fun, and I'll have a video about all that stuff, about Dragon Hunter and Druid and Tempest and all that stuff later on down the line. Speaking about down the line, holidays are coming. Thanksgiving's this week. Whenever you watch it, it's on Thursday, I think. Yeah, my mind is like off track a little bit this week because finals are also around the corner. So there's a lot of stuff happening in my life right now. So things might slow down a little bit until after December probably, because then after that is Christmas and I go home during the Christmas times. So I won't be around my computer very often during these times. But I will make the best effort to stream. I did stream this weekend. I tried to upload a video to YouTube, but it wouldn't let me for some reason, and like my internet was crappy, so streaming was really short this weekend. So no one really, I think 1 or 2 people came by, but I don't think so. I don't know. I was really kind of distracted with raiding also, because I didn't stream. And so yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a hold a little bit. But I will make my best effort to put out videos for you guys. And to, if you want to hear any updates and news, please do follow Twitter. I'm really trying to get people to follow me on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter account, it's okay. But if you do, try to follow me because I do post a lot of stuff up on Twitter. I try to keep in touch with you guys. It's the easiest way for me to keep in touch with you guys, to tell you when things are happening. Like, oh, there's a video out. Oh, there's streaming going on. I put up the videos on YouTube because most of the people are on here. But I'm trying to get people onto the Twitter account so I can have more active conversations with you guys and things. It'd be really fun to do that, talk about things going on in the game, because there's more stuff I'd like to talk about other than PvP. So I just don't have enough time for it all. So anyway, that's what's going on in my life. Hopefully you guys will stick around until next year. Next year is going to be amazing. I'm so excited for the new year, and I will make a New Year's video as well. That's in the planning. That's in the plan. So again, comments, feedback, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.